preconceived, right? Perceptions, yeah,
or notions or whatever. Yeah,
right.
Okay, well, I guess the smart growth segues into, and the real estate developer. This is something that's been brought up a lot of times. This issue of the Arlington County Board, and I've talked to Arlington County Board members and others about this, has a policy, informal or otherwise, or whatever you want to call it, of not taking donations from developers with...
That's informal.
Informal,
and that's
right.
for races...
With business before the board.
That's for races for the county board.
Right, so the question is... Right, I understand that. So the question is, do you think it's appropriate
for the Senate? Well, I'll cut to the chase. I am taking business donations, but to my knowledge, I have not taken a donation from a developer who is doing business before the board over the next 6 months, which is when this race would then end.
Well, yeah, so the $60,000, I think more than half of that you raised in the first quarter of the year came from local developer, $25,000 from John Shushan.
But his projects were approved before I took the money.
So you don't see any conflict there or appearance of anything? Or, I mean, I guess the thing is, the thing, whatever it is, policy or informal, is in place. Well, why do you think why is it in place? I mean, what is the purpose of the...
Well, I mean, the county board... actually judges or has to approve or disapprove projects that come before it. And the expectation was that you just didn't want your view to be influenced in any way.
Right.
Now, I would say in Fairfax, the board of supervisors take business donations all the time. It's just reported. So this was just sort of a unique thing to Arlington.
The Arlington way.
The Arlington way. And now Arlington's a lot bluer. The county board members, I mean, short of shooting themselves in the foot, but short of stealing or, strangling their mother, or it's a very blue community. They don't have to raise a lot of money either. As
long as they're running locally, right? When you take it to the running statewide, that's where it becomes an issue.
So, but then I'm not making judgments in the state senate. You're not making judgments on the development projects.
So I guess the question is, you don't believe it's necessary that you would recuse yourself in any way at this point, or even step down from the county board while you're running for
I will not step down from the county board. That would not be the right thing for my constituents. They elected me for a full term, and I will serve my full term.
When does that term expire?
It doesn't expire till the end of 2012.
Okay.
So if I win the election in 2011, then I'll resign.
Right, then, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, So
Yeah.
So you don't see a conflict, though, that's the bottom line of it.
I know my value structure is very strong, and I am going to make a decision based on what I think is right for the community, no matter what. And to Arlington's credit, we've been very effective in articulating our vision. It's, we're out there. This is what we expect. You want to get something approved, we have A, B, C, and D, and we have a very active voter constituency that holds us to this.
Right.
So
I guess this gets down to the influence of money in politics. This could be a long discussion, but so I mean, you have you earlier characterized Senator Saslaw as very progressive. I think some would maybe disagree with that. For example, on predatory lending, on the motor vehicle title loans to non-residents.
I think I categorized Mary Margaret as very progressive.
Oh, Mary Margaret, I'm sorry.
I didn't categorize Dick Saslaw.
Okay. So because he had a bill, SB 1367, motor vehicle title loans to non-residents, and obviously there's a lot of money involved there. I mean, and there's a lot of money in a lot of these different issues, whether you're talking about energy issues, Dominion power, whatever the issue is. But on that specific one, would you have voted for SB 1367, Senator Saslaw's bill on the motor vehicle title loans to non-residents, and in general, would you...
The title loans to non-residents, you mean the predatory...
It's basically, that's the way I see it. I believe they're predatory. It's one of the forms of it, but this was just in the last session.
Well, I should take this out. I want to give you a document that has my progressive record on. Yeah, I was a little concerned about not supporting potential victims of predatory lending.
Okay, well, that's definitely one. I don't know. Did you see Saslaw when he was on the Koja Namde?
I do not know.
Yeah, they really had quite an interesting discussion on that subject.
As part of my record, I voted for a resolution on the Arlington County Board that basically would prohibit and deter all predatory lending practices.
Okay.
And I would honor
Right.
I would honor that position in the General Assembly.
Right. So the broader question is, I guess, there's two broader. One is about money and the influence of money. So when you take donations in Virginia, it's it's like more like Fairfax County Board. It's they don't have a policy in the General Assembly of not taking donations from anyone with business before the General Assembly. Everybody has business before the General Assembly. Their lobbyists take people to the homestead or whatever to wine and dine them and whatever.
Right.
I mean, what do you think of that system in Richmond? And do you feel like you would be, not immune? I guess nobody's immune, but very resistant.
I come from a good government background, and lobbyists know people, get to know people well and get to know how to influence them. Money's not the influencing factor with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's, your position, who you associate yourself with, what the facts are, what problem are we trying to solve, and what the outcome is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
that's the model I've always used in the county as I've governed, and that's what I'm going to do in the Senate.
Right.
I'm sure lawmakers are human. I'm sure there are lawmakers on
They are.
all sides
And
of the
that's-
spectrum, and
yeah.
some people you can probably influence them
And that's the issue. In fact, I think
by wining and dining them. Anybody who knows me would tell you I'm a pretty forceful personality, very tough to influence if I make up my mind.
Right. I mean, another example.
Adam can tell you that.
Right. I'm sure a lot of
I can
people.
speak to that.
You can speak to that. Oh, if you'd like to chime in.
Adam can tell you that.
I guess another example was there was a Dominion Power. They wrote a re-regulation bill. Basically, their lobbyists essentially wrote it, and actually Senator Whipple voted for this bill. It favored things like coal and basically 19th, early 20th century energy sources over what we need to do to combat global warming and a lot of things. And that shows you the influence of not just Dominion. I don't want to just pick on Dominion, but
I'm not denying that there are. I've actually done a lot of work in Richmond, and I am not going to deny there are.
But there's a person, Senator Whipple, who I think you would describe as generally progressive. Well, you did.
I do.
And also a strong, forceful personality as well, and yet she voted for that. It's just hard to. I mean, do you think that was a mistake, or was that the right vote to vote for?
I haven't talked to her about it.
I mean, would you vote? Like, if you see a bill coming that lobbyists basically for an industry like well, I don't want to just keep picking on Dominion, whatever the industry is, it doesn't really matter. But it's something that maybe you don't agree with particularly, but they basically wrote this legislation. Does that set off warning bell? What does that do in your mind?
I always try to go for what I think is the ideal, always.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you come up short and you fail, and then you have to make a decision about whether you take some baby steps or whether you wait to take a big leap again. And I think part of any vote is not just based on the value of the policy, but it's based on the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, and I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but there may have been some strategy she felt was ultimately going to pan out if she did X or Y.
Right.
I don't know.
You don't know, right? Okay, so it's the making of sausage, basically, is what
Right.
the legislation is called. So you strive for the ideal, but it's kind of ugly. It can get ugly.
Right, it can get ugly. You may not get your ideal, so do you settle for a baby step? That's a decision you have to make on each.
But you see yourself as basically bringing Arlington values. Well, I have a question.
I don't see how I can't. I've been such a part of this community, and not only, I was an activist for 15 years before I was on the county board here.
Right.
So I was head of that Arlingtonians for a Better County, ABC, which was a reform group.
Right.
Before the Progressive Democrats were in office, ABC was ensuring we had good progressive government. So it predated the active Democratic Party here.
Mm-hmm. So you see yourself as a reformer, as a strong progressive, strong
That's
reformer.
my background.
That's what you.